Hey, it's Domain Dave again for cheapwinefighter.com with another wine review. This one is a Costco champagne. It's been around for a few years now, and it's a real champagne. It's $19.99. Neither Aldi or Trader Joe's kept their $19.99 price. They're now $5 to $6 more expensive. Aldi held the price, and this is the what do we got here? The Kirkland Signature Brut Champagne. And I got it down as the 2024 edition. I don't know if this is a different wine than last year or the year before. I don't know if they bought a whole bunch at one time to keep the price down and kept on releasing it over time, or has this been made for them this year? The label's the same, the blend's the same, and the winemaker's the same. It's Manuel Janison. He's a third-generation winemaker. He had a champagne house that his grandfather founded in a Grand Cru town in Champagne, and it was since 1923. And Janison was part of the LVHM group, or LVMH group. I forgot what that is. That is a company that has all the finest brands, elite brands in the world. They do Dior, they do Givenchy, they do Marc Jacobs, Louis Vuitton. And for champagnes, they did, for example, Dom Perignon and Moet and Chandon, some of the biggest names. And this Janison et Fil was part of that group. Now, they decided to stop selling the Janison wine, Manuel Janison's wines, and the grapes, the vineyards were in a very elite place, and they started selling them off. So you can get these grapes now in Moet and Dom. Now, I don't think that group has anything to do with this wine. I think they stopped that, and I noticed that Manuel Janison has a winery in South America, and he's doing other projects. But the champagne part of that seems to be over. They're now growers again. But that's a pretty good provenance for these wines. Somebody who was making wines in that elite brand is making this $20 champagne for Costco. So you go, oh, it's too cheap. It can't be that cheap. What's going wrong here? Nothing. I mean, this guy has been around forever. I mean, the 23, it's 100 years that they had, the winery had been around. It's no longer, it's still there, but it's growing grapes, not making wine. And he's learned from his father, who learned from his grandfather. It's one of those things. So this is legitimate champagne. And it's got a backstory that's not too bad. So let me take a taste. It's bright and crisp. It's really kind of light on the palate. It's lemons and apples and a little bit of creaminess, and in the mid palate, there was some maybe dried pineapple, a little bit of spice. It's got nice long flavors, crisp and clean. This is a Brut, which is a dry wine. There's a couple of different levels of dry, and Brut's the dry that's most close to sweet. Champagne's weird. I don't know how to tell you anything else. And this is a legitimate French champagne, $20. It's worth tasting. It's worth buying. We recently, you can check out the Cheap Wine Finder website. We did G.H. Mumm's Grand Cordon Brut Rosé, which we found for $25 on sale over the Thanksgiving holidays. And that's a wine that sells anywhere from 50 to 65 wines. And that was different than this. That had a balance, and it had a few things going for it that this one doesn't have. But at $20, this thing rocks. This thing is a really good champagne. It's legitimate, and it tastes great, and it sips great, and it is in a really nice bottle. It's a little bit fatter than the usual champagne bottles. It looks good. Made by somebody who was part of a major elite brand, and he makes a good bubbly. Now, I'm going to take a sip. Now, I don't know why it's $20. I would imagine that he bought the grapes. They've been there for 100 years. He must have contacts with the growers who, sometimes, like Moet and Chandon, their entry level, it's $40 wine, uses over 100 vineyards. So you buy a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I imagine this guy's got contacts everywhere, so he's getting a little bit of grapes here and there. Another thing is the high-end champagnes, and also in Bordeaux and Napa, the first time they press the grapes, that's the first run. And all the elite high-end wines only use first-run wines, and then they sell off the rest of it. Is the second pressing that bad? No, not really, but they're the best of the best. It's not that you could probably tell the difference if two people made first run, second run wines. Would they taste that much different? That's not the point. So this might be second, might be third press grapes. A little bit cheaper, but for $20, I'm gonna take another sip. Yeah. So there's ways to make a inexpensive champagne. There's no incentive for most people. You do have Trader Joe's, you do have Aldi, you do have Costco with this one with their Kirkland signature, and there's a few other places that have that I've seen have a $20 champagne, and they're legit. There's ways to make it cheaper. So is it good? Is the Kirkland signature Brut champagne in the year 2024 good? Yeah, it's really good. Should you buy it? Yeah, you should buy it. Is it worthy of New Year's Eve? Yeah, it definitely is. It's worth buying 2 bottles for the price of one other champagne? Yeah, that too. So adios, keep it cheap. Like us where you like your podcast. This is Domain Dave. Keep it cheap, stay warm, and I'll talk to everybody in a couple days. Bye-bye.